Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I'm your host, Adam Todd, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this incredible educational journey. With over 2 decades of elementary school teaching experience, I understand the challenges that teachers face today. But not to worry, because together we'll tap into the power of motivation to create vibrant centers of learning. In each episode, we'll explore a wealth of knowledge, insights, and innovative teaching strategies that will give you the tools to take your classroom to a whole new level. From practical tips you can implement immediately to creative classroom management techniques that will make your days run smoothly, we'll leave you eager to try new things. Think of it as manageable, bite-sized professional development. You know, the kind of PD that all teachers love. This way, you can start to create an inclusive and stimulating classroom environment that nurtures the individual potential of every child right away. And here's the added bonus. We'll regularly be focusing on seamlessly integrating technology as a support tool for the classroom on multiple levels and across all subject areas. Together, we'll explore how technology can enhance the learning experience, foster critical thinking skills, and open new doors for you and your students' growth in a 21st century world. So are you ready to embark on this transformational adventure? Join me on Classroom Dynamics as we dive deep into the art of teaching, providing you with inspiration, tools, and motivation to elevate your classroom experience so that your students thrive. This is Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast, where inspiration meets innovation. Are you an educator eager to spark creativity and engagement in your students? Unlock their potential with content creation. Imagine equipping them with cutting-edge tools to make their skills flourish. Take, for example, the Blue Sona microphone from Logitech, which I'm currently using. It ensures crystal clear audio quality for impactful projects. Logitech offers a full range of content creation solutions, including audio equipment, cameras, lighting, and editing software. They even have a suite of education solutions for classrooms, enhancing the learning experience for students and educators alike. Empower the next generation of creators by discovering the possibilities at logitech.com/education. If you told me back in high school or college that I was going to be a teacher, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I didn't want to be a teacher. But here I am, 24 years later, and I'm a successful teacher. And what I really thought teaching was turned out to not be. It was way more involved, way more intense. You're always on, you're always performing, you're always thinking ahead. You're always thinking ahead in the moment. And I think that's what makes teaching so rewarding. The amount of time and effort that you put into your work in terms of your planning and your thought process and your research. Once it comes out into a lesson and there's that moment where the kids get it and they're doing it and they're loving it, that's when you realize that teaching is something more than just a job or a profession. It's more than that. When I was a kid, I really didn't like school. I'll be very honest, didn't like it. I made friends, I did my work, but I didn't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, in kindergarten, I vividly remembered the anxiety I had of going to school. I just didn't want to be in school. There was something about it that just didn't make me feel welcome. And I think as I became a teacher over the years, that's always been inside me. I've always remembered that. And I think that's why I do what I do. And I think that's why I try to make the experience for the kids as amazing as possible, because I want them to be there. I want them to learn. I want them to figure things out. I want them to get that feeling in them that they have been successful. I went to college at Hofstra University in New York on Long Island and studied communications and speech arts. And I did really well. I actually think I did better in college than I had done in high school, which was better than I had done in junior high school, which certainly was better than I had done in elementary school. And when I graduated from college, I couldn't find a job in television, which is something I had always wanted to do. and a friend of mine who had gone back to the job placement office stumbled across a opening for the New York Mets, where I decided to apply. It was for a videographer job. You had to be in television. You had to know baseball. I mean, come on, this was the perfect job. So I applied and was interviewed in the New York Mets clubhouse at Shea Stadium. And one of the last things that the person who was interviewing me had asked me, and by the way, I was grilled on baseball knowledge, rules, if I could tell the difference between a fastball and a curveball just by speed, I was grilled. But he had asked me at the end if there was anything I wanted to know or say anything. And I said to him, I really don't care if I get this job or not. And he looked at me, and I looked back at him and said, I don't care that I get this job. I said, this has been great. I'm in the Mets clubhouse. I have bragging rights for the rest of my life with all my friends. I would like the job, but you know what? If I don't get it, this was pretty cool. As a baseball fan, this was pretty cool. And lo and behold, I got the job because of that, because of what I had said at the end. That's what resonated. It wasn't really all my knowledge and all the stuff that I knew about baseball. It was the fact that I had made myself real. I wasn't just a fan, although I wanted to be more. But I had the job and had it for 5 years, and I loved it. It was the coolest job I had ever had in my entire life. But it was only considered seasonal. So I didn't get any benefits, medical, all that stuff. I didn't have time away. I worked crazy hours, sometimes till 2:30 in the morning, sometimes as early as 6 in the morning. It was a hectic time, but listen, I was young. I could handle it. Now, the only downside to that was once the end of the season came, I wasn't working. I would just kind of wait around until spring training and that time when the regular season would start. So my mom, who had worked as a school aide in a neighboring school, suggested that I become a substitute teacher in the wintertime. I wasn't really working. There wasn't really any much in terms of, preparation, and there wasn't any work to take home. I would just go in, sub, and go home. And it was great because that's exactly what I did. And as I got deeper and deeper into subbing, I started to like it more and more. I saw this as a future for me, not baseball. Baseball was great for a young kid, but it wasn't a career. It wasn't going to pay enough for me to live off. So for a couple of years there, I worked both as a videographer for the New York Mets and a substitute teacher. And then I got a job as a 5th grade teacher. And I did that for 2 years while working for the Mets. It was crazy. I would work till 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes, go home, sleep for a few hours, get up, teach, come home, take a nap, eat something, go back to Shea Stadium and do it again and again and again. And after a while, it did take its toll on me because I just didn't have the energy to do both. But I knew that teaching was going to be a career. I was going to get my benefits out of it. I was going to get a pension eventually. I wasn't going to get that with the Mets. Baseball was, to me, all of a sudden, a dead end. After a few years of teaching 5th and 6th grade, I became a technology teacher. A principal of mine, who was very tech savvy herself, suggested that I move into a technology teacher role, a cluster position. And I figured, why not? This was right up my alley. I was good at technology. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I could handle it. And so I agreed, and I became a technology teacher. This was back in 2007. And since then, I've written a book for Scholastic called Managing the Digital Classroom. I've built a pretty cool technology curriculum on my own from scratch, and I really enjoy what I do. I really take pride in my work. And so this podcast is going to be dedicated to sharing some of the things that I've learned over my 24 years of teaching. And it's going to be tech heavy. We're going to talk about how to infuse technology into your curriculum, how to set up your classroom, how to manage the devices that you have. We're going to have people on. We're going to talk. We're going to do this together so that we begin to think about the future of technology in our classrooms. Because right now, technology and the infusion of technology in our classrooms is so profound that sometimes it can get a little messy deciding where to start and how to go about teaching just a regular lesson that has technology woven into it. Enter any classroom these days and you'll be hard-pressed not to find some evidence of technology, whether it's one or two computers tucked into a corner of a room or a large interactive whiteboard front and center. What we considered quote-unquote technology back in the day has changed just a bit in the last few decades. Really, even just think back to when you were a kid. Classroom technology may have consisted of a tape recorder or maybe even an overhead projector, or even a slide projector. Remember those? More typical of a junior high school science class? Obviously, today's technology and its tools, which include large interactive whiteboards and document cameras, laptops, webcams, tablets, smartphones, and even artificial intelligence devices such as Merlin Mind, are a lot more sophisticated. Now, more on Merlin Mind and the use of voice commands and artificial intelligence in a future episode. The amount of technology that has flooded our classrooms can feel overwhelming and may even hinder our teaching if we don't understand how to utilize them effectively in the classroom. And that's the key. Having technology doesn't mean that it's being effectively used in a classroom. You know who you are, those of you who may use technology, but you don't, use technology in the way that it can enhance everything that you're doing, everything that you do for you, everything you do for your students and with your students. You know you can do better and you want to do better, but you may not know where to start. The fact of the matter is that technology will continue to shape our classrooms and the way we go about instruction for those students, both now and in the future. As for today, technology permeates nearly every facet of our lives, including education, and there are many opportunities to introduce and even to use technology effectively in your teaching. Yet for various reasons, not all teachers feel comfortable incorporating technology into those lessons, and that's okay. Some worry that lessons that they've planned for using technology in some way, shape, or form won't work, at least in the way that they had intended. And let's face it, that happens occasionally. The computer freezes, something fails to load, or that dreaded announcement from the school's main office that the internet is down can only cause pure panic. We've all been there. Even a tech-savvy teacher may not feel always 100% comfortable falling back on a lesson that doesn't use technology when that computer freezes or that file fails to open. We've all been there. What we need to understand is that today's students are very tech-savvy by virtue of just being born in the technological age. Take my daughter, for instance. She's in high school now, but when she was only 4 years old, she instinctively learned on her own how to use my iPad. I never taught her how to do that. She actually went in and used my passcode. And then one day I said to her, how did you get in there? How did you open that? How did you do that? And she said, I put in the numbers. I said, but you're not even in school yet. You don't know what numbers are. I said, show me what you did. And I turned the iPad to her and lo and behold, she put in my passcode. She knew the numbers without knowing numbers. Now, afterwards, no technology was out of her reach. Instinctively, there was knowing how to use my cell phone, the microwave oven, and even the TV remote control. She even learned at a very young age to manipulate the mouse on my computer, to click on an icon, and how to use the touchpad on my laptop. Her hand-eye coordination and moving the pointer just across the screen was amazingly accurate for a child of only 4. She even knew some computer-related jargon such as the words download and open and what it meant to go online. The point is that students naturally gravitate toward the use of technology, especially now because kids are born into it. They don't know any differently because to them it's always been there. Yet for adults, it's something we've kind of been introduced to and we've had to learn how to use. But for a kid, well, their gravitational attention to technology is just mind-boggling. I call it the horse and blinder effect. I mean, come on. When it comes to screens, they only see what's in front of them. And when something is on a computer screen or a monitor of some sort, that's all the kids nowadays can focus on. Everything around them seems to not be visible at all. It just disappears. Even if you look back a little over 10 years ago, a survey that was conducted by CDWG, a provider of technology products and services at the time, had found that almost 70% of high school students said that they wanted more technology in their classrooms. In that same survey, educators started shifting away from just the old lecture style approach to lessons and toward a more balanced learning approach by relying on and using more technology tools for engagement and enhancements of lessons. And think about that. That was back in 2012. The level of technology that permeated our world since then has immensely grown to unbelievable reliant levels across the board. Classroom technology has and continues to rapidly become the fast track to increasing student engagement and bringing lessons to life in ways that were previously unimaginable. My advice, straight out of the gate, incorporate it, use it, embrace it, because let's face it, it's not going away. And if anything, we're going to have to rely on technology even more so as time moves forward. In our next episode, we're going to take a look at some of the ways you can start to use technology in your everyday lessons, in your everyday planning, and incorporating it so that it works best for you and your class and those kids who sit in front of you every day. We'll also start to look at how to manage your digital classroom. What does your classroom setup even look like? How does it function? Does it flow? We'll take a look at all of that coming up in our next episode. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both to be insightful and uplifting. And as always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe that when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who may feel that it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work, so why not make today that day to do so? But before we go, I want to take a moment to thank you, our amazing listeners. Your dedication to creating a dynamic learning environment for yourself and your students is truly inspiring on its own. I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on Twitter at ClassDynamics. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement immediately into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting that spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think.